Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are exploring a landmass that literally defies expectation. If you love geography, history, and biology, you are in for a serious treat. Today, we're looking at Borneo, a place that holds some of the planet's most extreme geographic anomalies. It's a land of towering peaks, subterranean voids, bizarre wildlife, and incredibly complex human history. We're going to unpack exactly what makes this massive jungle so absolutely fascinating. Now, I want to start by posing kind of a wild question. What single island on Earth is legally ruled by 3 different sovereign nations? Think about how rare that is in global human geography. To have 3 completely distinct political systems, economies, and national identities sharing one continuous, seemingly impenetrable jungle. Setting the stage with this question is important because it means that to really understand Borneo, we have to use a layered map approach. We can't just look at the borders. We have to look at the geology, the biology, and the deep history that eventually drew those lines. Okay, let's dive into this. 287,000. That is the sheer square mileage of Borneo. It's the largest island in Asia and the 3rd largest in the entire world, sitting right there in the heart of maritime Southeast Asia. Surrounded by 4 different seas, its immense scale dictates its complex climate and its unbelievable biodiversity. For geography enthusiasts, Borneo is way more than just an island. With its sprawling lowland rainforests and towering alpine peaks, it's essentially a mini continent in its own right. So here is our agenda for this explainer. To truly grasp Borneo's complexity, we need to construct our understanding layer by layer, from bedrock to modern times. We'll start with a land of extremes, then move to biology born from isolation. 3rd is slicing up the map. 4th, we'll look at indigenous life and languages. And finally, Borneo's changing landscape. Let's jump right in. Section 1. A land of extremes. Stepping into the jungles of Borneo is quite literally stepping back into deep time. It features a 130-million-year-old rainforest that miraculously survived the last ice age entirely intact.
And this brilliantly illustrates what I mean by extremes. Hidden deep beneath the jagged limestone pinnacles of that ancient primary rainforest lies the Sarawak Chamber. Discovered in 1981, it holds the record as the largest known cave chamber in the world by surface area. The scale is honestly almost impossible to comprehend. Just imagine the grueling, echoing, perpetual darkness of this subterranean void, a place you can only reach by a treacherous swim up an underground river, and then realize it is colossal enough to easily accommodate 8 massive Boeing 747 commercial airliners parked right in a row. It's an absolute geologic masterpiece.
From the deep underground, we're shooting straight up to the clouds. Piercing the sky at an elevation of 13,435 feet is Mount Kinabalu, the undisputed roof of Borneo. This colossal granite dome is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But what's really fascinating is how it acts as a biological island in the sky. As you ascend from the sweltering tropical lowlands up to the freezing alpine meadows, you pass through distinct ecological zones hosting over 5,000 plant species. The most famous resident? That would be the giant carnivorous Nepenthes Rajah. It's a massive pitcher plant that produces traps large enough to hold 3 liters of water and, yes, occasionally consumes small vertebrates. Wild, right? Section 2, Biology Born from Isolation. This extreme physical isolation created a bizarre biosphere found absolutely nowhere else on Earth. The mystery of Borneo's completely unique wildlife is closely tied to the last ice age. This timeline perfectly reveals how it happened. During the Pleistocene epoch, massive amounts of water were locked up in polar ice caps, meaning global sea levels were hundreds of feet lower. So, Borneo wasn't an island at all. It was physically attached to mainland Southeast Asia by a colossal land bridge known as Sundaland. This massive highway allowed big placental mammals from the Asian mainland to migrate freely into the region. But when the ice eventually melted, sea levels rose and flooded the bridge. Borneo was instantly isolated, permanently trapping those migrating species on what was now an island. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer, bizarre, evolutionary paths taken by these trapped species over thousands of years. You have the undisputed king of the island, the highly intelligent Bornean orangutan, perfectly adapted to swinging through the rainforest canopy. Down in the coastal swamps, you'll find the proboscis monkey, famous for its enormous pendulous nose. Then there's the critically endangered pygmy elephant, literally the world's smallest elephant subspecies, just stranded thousands of miles from the Asian mainland. And botanically, you have the Rafflesia arnoldi. With no leaves, stems, or true roots, it bursts from the jungle floor to become the world's largest single flower, emitting a putrid stench of rotting meat to attract flies. Nature is just unbelievable sometimes. Section 3. Slicing up the map. While anatomically modern humans have navigated this island for 40,000 years, evident from skulls found in the Naya caves, the political borders slicing through it today are a much more recent invention. Get ready for one of the absolute wildest geopolitical anomalies of the 19th century. The White Rajahs were an English dynasty started by an adventurer named James Brooke. Back in 1839, he sailed into the region on his heavily armed yacht and helped the Sultan of Brunei suppress a local rebellion. In a stunning historic twist, the Sultan rewarded Brooke by bestowing upon him the title of Rajah of Sarawak. Brooke and his successors ruled this massive swath of jungle as their very own private, sovereign kingdom for over a century. They minted their own currency and operated completely independently of the British Empire. You literally can't make this stuff up. Ultimately, the shape of modern Borneo was hammered out by European colonial treaties, like the Anglo-Dutch Treaty of 1824. You had diplomats sitting in drawing rooms thousands of miles away, drawing arbitrary lines right through the jungle to prevent trade disputes. That convention formalized the incredible three-nation split we see today. A massive 73% of the island belongs to Indonesia, known as Kalimantan. 26% in the north makes up East Malaysia, comprising Sabah and Sarawak, and the tiny, oil-rich Sultanate of Brunei, which actually controlled the entire coastline centuries ago, now holds the remaining 1%. Section 4. Indigenous Life and Languages. Long before diplomats were drawing lines on paper, this rugged, river-veined interior was the ancestral homeland of the Dayak people. A cornerstone of traditional Dayak human geography is the iconic Longhouse. Rather than building sprawling villages of individual huts, Dayak communities constructed these massive, stilted wooden structures. Elevated high on pylons to protect against monsoon floods, a single longhouse can stretch for hundreds of meters along a riverbank. They're designed to house an entire village, upwards of 100 families under one continuous roof. It really highlights a brilliant architectural feat that protects indigenous communities while reflecting a highly cooperative society, one deeply connected to the rainforest environment. So the crucial point is this staggering number, 170. Borneo is an absolute paradise for linguists because it holds 170 distinct indigenous languages spoken across the island. Why so many? Well, because the physical geography, the incredibly dense jungles, the steep mountains, the rapid rivers, historically made travel so difficult. Small indigenous communities lived in profound isolation from one another. This immense linguistic map is a direct reflection of how Borneo's impenetrable terrain shaped human communication and identity over thousands of years. Section 5. Borneo's Changing Landscape. We have to acknowledge that Borneo's historic isolation is currently undergoing some of the most dramatic, intentional shifts in modern history. The most profound example of human-environment interaction on Borneo today is the palm oil industry. The global demand for this versatile vegetable oil is just absolutely massive. On one hand, the palm oil boom has undeniably driven significant economic development, created thousands of jobs, and funded modern infrastructure across the island. On the other hand, there is a severe ecological cost. Massive swaths of ancient rainforest have been logged to make way for vast, geometric monoculture plantations. This rapid land use change radically alters the landscape and drastically reduces the living space for endemic wildlife, directly displacing vulnerable species like the orangutan. It's a highly complex balance between substantial economic growth and significant environmental impact. Let's move to and see how this builds into an even larger intentional geographic shift. The Indonesian government is currently undertaking an unprecedented mega project. Because their current capital, Jakarta, over on the island of Java, is severely overpopulated, chronically gridlocked, and actually sinking into the sea, they're moving the capital entirely. Project Nusantara involves constructing a multi-billion-dollar high-tech, sustainable forest city right in the jungles of East Kalimantan. Planners envision a city powered by renewable energy that shifts the nation's economic center of gravity. At the exact same time, this massive relocation has sparked intense debates regarding the potential displacement of local indigenous communities and the impact on Borneo's fragile ecosystems. Which brings us to our final slide, and a question I really want to leave you with. How will these modern, intentional geographic shifts ultimately alter the world's oldest continuous rainforest? Borneo is a land of unmatched extremes, from underground cave chambers that can hold jumbo jets, to ancient biology stranded by melting ice caps, to a map literally sliced up by European diplomats and rogue English adventurers. It has survived ice ages and millennia of deep isolation. But as vast plantations grow and an entirely new megacity rises from the jungle floor, the future of this incredibly complex mini-continent remains completely unwritten. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope you walk away with a deeper understanding of just how extraordinary Borneo truly is. Keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.